Hello BookTube. Today on my 2023 library tour, I will be talking about the classics, the literature of Greece and Rome, more canonical classics, as well as some anthologies. So I'm hoping to get two shelves done in pretty quick order. So that way my 2023 library tour does not go on forever like it did last year. So I'll start with the literature of ancient Greece. I do actually want to start, like the next time I rearrange my collection, to start with mythology. Not just Greek mythology, but all mythologies as well. So I would like to pretty much I have two works on mythology that are in the shelf over here that probably should be over here, even if one of them is nonfiction. But for these two shelves, the first book is the Iliad by Homer. This is one of my favorite epic poems. I've read it several times and I've enjoyed it every time. I especially am enthralled with the scenes with the gods. Not so much the mortals, but more the gods are really my thing. So quite like this one. I also have the Odyssey in the Fakel's translation, as is the Iliad. I picked these both up for a course on Greek mythology. I used to have the Butler translations through the Barnes and Noble classics, but those stank. So happy to have these because these are really good translations. I also have a trio of poems by Hesiod, Works and Days, Theogony, and Shield of Heracles. And this is really good. I picked it up in San Francisco. I want to say it was at the little used bookstore room that was there when I went to San Francisco State University for less than a semester. Wonderful place, my favorite part of San Francisco State University. Anyway, next up is Sappho, which I've had forever. Wonderful collection of what's known of her work. I also have the Oresteia by Aeschylus, which I've had forever as well, about well over 20 years. Then another long-running acquisition I've had is an anthology of Greek drama. This includes work by Aeschylus, Sophocles, Euripides, and Aristophanes. And the specific plays are Agamemnon, Eumenides from the Oresteia, Antigone, Oedipus the King, Philoctete from Sophocles, Medea, Hippolytus, Trojan Women by Euripides, and The Frogs by Aristophanes. And I picked that up from a thrift store in Austin. Another book I picked up from San Francisco is The Voyage of Argo by Apollonius of Rhodes. This is the story of Jason and the Argonauts. I also have the Histories by Herodotus, which I really need to get to. Moving on to Roman work, I have the Aeneid by Virgil, which I originally picked up for that Greek mythology class, but I ended up getting rid of that edition and later picked up this one from a used bookstore. And I've been meaning to pick up Ovid's Metamorphoses again, because I had that one for that class too, but I got rid of it, although, to be perfectly honest, I'm not as fond of the Metamorphoses, really. I also have Suetonius' Lives of the Caesars, which I really need to get to. And then I have some works on Greek mythology, which again, I would like to sort of rearrange where they are. This is the Greek Myths by Robert Graves. This is his idiosyncratic interpretation of the Greek myths, which can be fascinating and can be off-putting. But I love this collection. I also have Mythos by Stephen Fry. This is the first book in a trilogy of interpretations of Greek mythology that Stephen Fry's done. I only have this copy. I would like to pick up the other two at some point. Given the fact that Heroes has been languishing in my book depository wish list for years now, probably well past time I pick it up. I also have Legends of the World, edited by Richard Cavendish. This looks at a number of legends from around the world, and I've had this book since I was a preteen. This is one of the oldest books I have in my collection. Or longest, really. And then I also have The Portable Dante by Dante Alighieri. This includes, I think, all of the Divine Comedy and a few other works. Let me see here. Yeah. The Divine Comedy, La Vita Nuova, the Rhymes, and some prose work. Really need to get to this. I also have Arthurian Romances by Chrétien de Troyes, which I've had for a number of years. And then sticking with King Arthur, I have La Mort d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory, which I've had for years. And I really need to make an effort to read the whole thing. I've dipped in and out here and there. Then I have The Complete Plays of Christopher Marlowe in this beat-up edition, which I picked up from in San Francisco, and I really need to replace it. Because even though I'm rather gentle on my books, I don't think that one would bear a reading. And then I have The Fairy Queen by Edmund Spenser, which I've had for years, and well past time I finally have a go at it. I will be doing that in March. Look for my March of the Mammoth video at the end of February. And then I also have The Duchess of Malfi and Other Plays by John Webster, which is a wonderful collection of plays. I've read The Duchess of Malfi and I think The White Devil, but I haven't gotten to the other two yet, which I really need to since I've had that collection for years. I don't remember if I ordered that if I picked that up for Renaissance Lit class, or if I bought it on my own because I really liked A Duchess of Malfi. I also have Kojiki, which is a work of early Japanese literature. I would like to have some more. But I know I really need to make the effort to read that. And then I have The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne, in a Great Illustrated Classics edition, which I got from my library. They occasionally will DXS books and put them in their Friends of the Library sale, or if they have a sell nook. I know the Westmaker one does. I'm pretty sure the Central one does too. They'll sell them for like 25 cents. I also have The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins. This is one of the earliest detective novels, one of my favorites. It's been a while since I've read it. Another Penny Dreadful is Lady Audley's Secret by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. This is, again, an early thriller novel, early detective novel. Not one I particularly care for. I have had it for years. I picked it up for a class, and I never gone back to it, and I doubt I will. I'm not particularly fond of this book. I also have The Mill on the Floss by George Eliot, which I picked up about 2 years ago. I had to go at this book 15 years ago, and I didn't quite get on with it. But I had again to try Eliot again, and I settled on The Mill on the Floss, and I wanted to get to it for Victober, but it didn't turn out. And hopefully I will get to it at some point. And this is an ex-library copy, which I have quite a few because one of the, in addition to the Friends of the Library who do sell DXS library copies, one of the sellers or several of the sellers I go with on Alibris usually sell DXS or withdrawn library copies or ex-library copies. So, and I'm not really all that beat up about it when I see them, although it will probably at some point maybe make it a bit difficult to send them on their way. But I'll get to that when I get to it. This is The Way We Live Now by Anthony Trollope. Again, I read this for that October, and I didn't get on with it. I might come back to it, I might not, I don't know. We shall see. Now, probably chronologically, the oldest book in my collection is The Works of H. Rider Haggard. This is an omnibus edition from 1920 something, 1928. Although that's a cover, I don't know necessarily the exact publication of this edition, but anyway. So this includes Cleopatra, which I'm assuming is a historical novel, but I've never read it. She, which is one of Haggard's great adventure novels, which I've read, although the first part of it is dreadfully dull. Takes a while for it to get to going. King Solomon's Mines and Alan Quatermain, which is largely why I picked this up, because I'd long wanted a copy of King Solomon's Mines and Alan Quatermain. I also have a two-book edition of Alice in Wonderland, which includes Alice's Adventures of Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, both by Lewis Carroll, and a Norton Critical edition, which I think I picked up for a class, but I could be wrong. But I'm quite happy to have it. I used to have a bigger, lavishly illustrated edition that I don't have anymore. This is The Picture of Dorian Gray and Other Writings by Oscar Wilde, which I don't know quite where I picked this up from. I used to have a Norton Critical of The Picture of Dorian Gray that I don't have anymore, and I kind of regret not having it because it had a lovely cover. This is The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum, which I picked up. I don't quite know where I picked it up, but I really need to actually at some point have a go at it. This is The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket by Edgar Allan Poe. This is the only thing of Poe I have, which is a shame. I picked this up for a class, and I quite enjoyed it. And I really would like to have a few goes at Poe's work. Maybe even reread this. It's been forever since I've read it. This is The Never-Ending Story by Michael Ende, which I've long wanted to have in my collection. I love the movies, and I'd never read this actual book. And I picked it up a few years ago and had got it a few years ago, but I would like to have another go at it. I didn't quite have as good a reaction to the book as I would have liked. Now, the anthologies. First up is the Columbia Anthology of Gay Literature. This is a massive brick of a book that has a number of gay literature in it. I've never taken the time to read the whole thing. I've dipped in and out of it. I also have a Forbidden Acts, which is an anthology of gay theater that includes The God of Vengeance by Shalom Ash, The Captive by Edward Bourdet, The Children's Hour by Lillian Hellman, Oscar Wilde by Leslie and Sewell Stokes, The Immoralist by Ruth and Augustus Goetz, The Killing of Sister George by Frank Marcus, The Boys in the Band by Mark Crowley, which I've read and quite liked, Bent by Martin Sherman, which I've actually seen a production of, As Is by William Hoffman, and Love, Valor, Compassion by Terrence McNally, which I want to say I've watched the film adaptation of. But I really would like to kind of read some of the other ones that I haven't gotten to besides Boys in the Band. And then I have A Word of Mouth, an anthology of gay American poetry edited by Timothy Liu, which is a wonderful collection. I've had this book for years. It's one of the first books I ever picked up from Book People in Austin, the storied independent bookstore, which I love. This is A Queer Nature edited by Michael Walsh. This is a work of it's a poetry anthology that collects a number of queer poets' work on nature, and this is an awesome collection. I read it a few months ago and it blew me away. Just absolutely, I love it. Next is the new Oxford Book of Victorian Verse, which I picked up last year for October, and it did not go well at all, annoyingly. This is Anti-Story, an anthology of experimental fiction, edited by Stephen Stevick. I long wanted to have this in my collection. I picked it up a few years ago and read it a year or two ago, and I think more like 2 years ago, and I had mixed reactions. I mean, of course, it's experimental fiction, so we kind of expect that. And finally, Famous American Plays of the 1960s, which is a bit of a mess because because I want to say the plays themselves there's a bit of a mess up, yeah, because the contents do not reflect the actual content of the book. It's actually on the covers, the actual books that are in here. Benito Serrano, Hogan's Goat, Hogan as Goat, We Bombed in New Haven, The Indian Ones, The Bronx, and The Boys in the Band. So that concludes these two shelves. I'll be back tomorrow with another shelf and some really big anthologies, and I'll continue on with the classics, canonical, modern, and contemporary fiction, poetry, and drama throughout the rest of the week. So anyway, BookTube, while I'm uploading this video, I will be doing a tag. So until then, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.